Shalom, and thank you for joining me again, burnt bronze sisters and brothers of the Most High God, Yahweh. I thank you for joining me. I've heard from a few people that basically have some questions about the Antichrist and what's going on. You know, I warned you through the Holy Spirit several years back to be out of America by 2023. I know some of you have already gone. Many of you are trying to get everything together for your lives. Keep praying, keep moving, okay? Now, I want to remind you about the book, The Stone Rejected Would Become the Key Cornerstone by me, Delina Spinelli, and Yahweh Most High. Couldn't have wrote it without him. It was his word. I was just his secretary taking down his words, okay? So I give all the glory and the praise and the honor to Yahweh Most High and Yeshua HaMashiach. All right, so before we get started on this video, which is really an amazing video that the Most High Yahweh put together without me hardly even realizing over the course of the last year. You know, like I said, many people were contacting me saying, well, okay, Lynn, there's a lot of things happening going on. The war, Hamas, different things. What's unfolding behind the scenes, or what's going on with the Antichrist, different questions. So I'm going to speak on that. God has given me a great amount of information. But before I do, I want to say this. I am a private person. I'm not one of those kind of people that love attention, love the limelight, love to say I'm a prophetess this, I'm a this, that, I got. No, you don't hear that come out of my mouth, because I'm just a humble daughter of the Most High God Yahweh. I'm one of many people who God has called just to speak to his people, help to prepare them, give them support, and let them know that Yahweh is on their side, and he wants them to be successful in what's coming up in the unfolding of revelations, okay? So don't feel like you're alone, because if you're one of the ones that fear Yahweh Most High and Yeshua HaMashiach, you believe that he's the burnt bronze son and with hair like wool and Revelations, as Revelation speaks on, then you're on the right track. You're on the right track. So what I want to say, though, to add something to that is, okay, a lot of you know that I appeared on the show It's a Miracle. There's a little bit of something on the back of the book that says a little bit about that. But the point I think God wanted me to make, being that he asked me to speak on it, I think he wants to give you some clarity and authenticity of when I bring you things, it's going to be the truth. It's going to be from Yahweh Most High, not from me. I'm just his servant. So in 2000, I was invited to appear on the show. It was a nationally syndicated show, PAX TV. It was called It's a Miracle. And some of you, might know or used to watch that show. It's basically about people who have miracles in their lives, events that's unexplainable. And of course, we know as God's children that miracles always come from God. You know, they're his mercy, they're his kindness, they're his long patience. They're helping us when we don't really deserve it. That's delivering us when we don't even see a way out of a situation. Those are miracles. And this miracle happened to me. It was 8 years before actually it happened. And I had mentioned it to different people, this dream that I had about some future event in my life and with my son. And so it was provable. There were people along the way who knew and heard about this dream, and it unfolded exactly like I saw it. And so It's a Miracle did a segment with me in it. Now, as I said, I think Yahweh wanted me to mention that because it gives authenticity to what he's getting ready to tell you next. And that is about who the Antichrist is, where he comes from, what his name is, and we'll go from there. All right, so, but before we do, let's read Isaiah 29, chapter 29, verse 18. It says, "On that day, the deaf will hear the words of a little book, and out of gloom and darkness, the blind will see." I truly believe this book, The Stone Rejected, will become the key cornerstone, is that book they're talking about in Isaiah and Habakkuk. Also, because God was trying to prepare us to receive the truth before all of this lies and stuff start to unfold from the Antichrist, right? We know already that the Bible had been tampered with and taken out and put things in and books taken out. So God gave this book, The Stone Rejected, so that we will have all of the facts, all of the truth. We will no longer be deceived. We will no longer be held in bondage by lies, because what did it say? The truth shall set you free. And a lot of people that read this book say that they've been set free. They no longer feel like they're in bondage by the European pagan Gentiles about who they are, what they do or don't deserve. So I praise the Most High for that, to allow me just to be a small portion to help to bring this forward. Thank you, Lord Yahweh. You're good. Okay, now, so the next thing I want to talk about is what exactly a lot of people have been asking me about. Like I said, the Antichrist. And here's some facts. Hold on till you see, because it's going to be a wild ride. All right, so the Antichrist has arrived. His name is Shlomo. Okay, he is a hybrid. He's lived for several hundred years. He has no earthly birth, though, when you look him up, you're going to hear some stories, but that's not true. He's a hybrid human. He comes and goes. Earth is not his permanent home. He is one and the same man that visited in the 1950s. Now, you might have heard of a story a long time ago. 1950, some man came and he said he was from a planet, I can't remember, Venus, and said that, he gave the United States government a lot of in-depth information about what was up ahead, how to keep the power, how to remain in charge, what they needed to do to continue to be masters, basically, and master the world. That this was their destiny, to try to be masters of the world in this last hour in preparation for the Antichrist. Now, that doesn't mean he told them all the details about Satan, because, they're easily deceived anyway. But according to reports, he gave them a lot of in-depth information and things like that. Okay, now remember, 2 Thessalonians says, but when the rebel comes, Satan will set to work. Now, this is the rebel, he's the Antichrist. There's another man, though, that's going to be, he's considered a beast too. He's working for Satan also. But it says Satan will set to work. Now, I'm going to do another video on what Satan is doing right now and what's going on behind the scenes with him. But that's going to be on another video. Today, we're going to just focus on the main things that you need to know right now. Okay. Now, a lot of people are thinking right now, well, how does she know all this stuff? One last thing, too. This Shlomo is, he is what we call a modern day Jew, those calling themselves Jews in Israel. He is a Jew, and you might have seen him already on television. Now in 2022, the Jews was all getting stirred up saying their Messiah had come, and they introduced everybody to this man. There might have been another video before that, but the one I saw, named Shlomo. And they're saying already that this man has already performed miracles. He's around 30 plus years old. And I'm going to get back to that in a few minutes. But right now, I want to give you some little facts, personal facts, how I know what God gave me about him a few years back is true. Okay. So my personal encounter. All right. So around 1999, I was visiting a friend in Ohio. She was a good friend. And my family lived in North Carolina. My mom and my dad, my brothers and sisters married and, not living there with them. And so one night I had a dream about, I saw this man stab my mother in the stomach. This is a dream. Okay. I had a dream. I was a little concerned about it because it seemed really real. So I was talking to my friend, and after telling her, she said, oh my God, Lena, I had this dream that this white man, stabbed you in the stomach. And we're both just sitting there like, oh my gosh. And so I got a little concerned about my parents. And so I decided to cut my visit short, go back down to North Carolina and check on them, make sure they were okay. So in going back to check on them, I also felt like, they were okay when I got there. But I also felt like they needed a better home. They were still living the old home we lived in. And it was a mobile home and gotten older. So we decided, my dad and I, to try to go get them a new home, a new mobile home. And we started looking around. We found one. So we had it pulled in. We had the old one pulled out into an adjacent field. We had an old cornfield, good size. No corn was there, but now it was just growed up grass, about 12 inches or more high, the brown, grass, lots of grass, like knee high. And so after we had this mobile home pulled in, the new one, and the other one's about maybe 15 yards out from it in the field. So my dad was, organizing things in the new house, trying to get it ready. My mother wasn't there at the time. She was away. And so I was going back and forth, making trips, getting stuff out of the old home that we were going to keep, leaving the old stuff to the window and bringing it back. And Daddy was trying to organize. I was helping him out, And so I went outside, went through the back door, went to my mom and dad's old bedroom, was standing up on a stoop, trying to reach up, get things down to carry back to Dad to put in their new room, my mom in his room. And I heard this rustling outside. Remember, he's in the other mobile home. I heard this rustling outside, like footsteps. Somebody's walking through the grass, coming up to the old mobile home. And I asked my dad, is that you? Is that you? And I keep asking, is that you? But nobody answers. And that's unusual for my dad, because I'm saying it pretty loud. And the person is pretty close, because I can hear their steps coming up to the back, rustling. And so I'm thinking, and I thought to myself, is Daddy playing a trick on me? And the Most High God Yahweh spoke quick. He said, your daddy doesn't play tricks. And then I got to thinking, no, my dad don't. My dad is really humble, quiet. He doesn't play little games or tricks or anything like that. I've never seen him do that. So something in my spirit made me get down quickly. So I got down quickly, went to the back door. At the bottom of the steps, there's only like 3 or 4 steps, was this man standing there. He was a white male. His hair was dark, shoulder length, collar length. He had his hand in his pocket. He was gripping something tightly. I could tell he was gripping it tightly in his pocket. The coat was dark. It was about thigh length, and he had a hat on. And he looked unusual because, in the country, most people ain't gonna have a dark, coat, thigh length and a hat, a certain kind of hat on. And so it was November or something. It wasn't cold. Let's put it like that. It wasn't cold. And so when I saw him at the bottom of the steps, I looked right in his face. I said, who are you? What do you want? He turns, he whips around. He doesn't answer me. He goes off across the field. He starts walking briskly. And I go walk in after him. And so I see he's going to keep walking. So I go jump in my truck, was right there in the yard. I go around, because this road that leads from our driveway around through past this, where this field ends. And then it curves on around and goes on down. It's a dirt road. And when I got, where he should have been crossing from, if he'd have kept that straight line, he was gone. I didn't see him in the field anywhere. I didn't see him, on to the left where there's a little woodsy area, small trees though, not very big. He was gone like that. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, that might have been this person that my friend and I saw in the dream. Now, I kept his face in my mind, though. I remember how he looked. He looked like a young male, white male, in his 30s maybe. And then in 2015, Yahweh, as I'm, just pondering things, and he revealed that the Antichrist would come from Israel. I asked him, I said, well, Lord, where's this Antichrist coming from? Remember, there's no connection between this man yet that I've just seen. And I asked the Lord, where is this man? And the Lord revealed to me, he's coming from the land of Israel. This is in 2015. Then when I see him, as I watch this video in 2022, and I see this man's face, I realize this is the same man. Yes, indeed. So with that being said, I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to give you a timeline of something that's been happening for the last several months in 2023 that's going to help you understand what I finally understood Yahweh was trying to reveal to me. So I'm going to put that up on the screen. I'm going to put the timeline up, and I'm going to try to explain to you what it's about and what you need to know is going on. So hold on. All right, sisters and brothers, here's our timeline. Okay, so June 28th, 2022, I was asleep. Yahweh Most High spoke to me and says the earth is void and full of monsters. And I'm thinking to myself the next morning, yeah, the earth is. You got mean people, you got killers, you got all kind of stuff going on. You know, people just going crazy. And the Yahweh Most High said, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. He said, I'm explaining to you that the earth is void, meaning that there are more hybrid beings and creatures in the earth than humans, and that these monsters are really undermining human society. They're destroying it. You have, ones living in the sea. I explained on this video down in what we call the Bermuda Triangle. God said there's a whole city down there. And so in the meantime, YouTube took this one down. So some of you saw this video, but YouTube took it down shortly after it was put up. It had a lot of information about what's going on and how God is monitoring it. All right. Then on August 13th, 2022, Yahweh spoke against Las Vegas specifically. And he had me make a video titled The Killing of the Satyrs and Ham Restored. This video even gave more in-depth detail about what's going on out in Las Vegas and how in every Babylonian kingdom there is a desert place where Satan's beings and creatures are, basically doing their little bidding. And so this video was very important because it laid it out, connected with the ancient times when God had two goats. One they call goat satyrs. But satyrs aren't just he-goats, half man, half goats. Satyrs are anything that is a hybrid species. We know the fallen angels cohabitated with women, but they also commingle their seed with all kind of animals, producing these hybrids, these half man, half goat, half horse, half man, half bull, half man. And so these beings were very treacherous, sneaky, tricksters, lying. They love drinking. They love partying, sexually perverse. And so anything that is a hybrid is considered a satyr. In other words, like Satan, they're descendants of Satan. Through Cain, through that line, and through the other fallen angel hybrids. So we want you to understand that because that ties into what you're going to see next. Okay. Then on May 1st, 2023, almost a year later, now these two videos God gave me, I didn't quite understand it at first, but by the time May 2023 rolled around and this happens, I'm starting to get it a little bit. Okay, May 1st, 2023, a blue ball, gigantic balls, more than one, were coming in hot in Las Vegas. Spacecraft crashed in Las Vegas family's backyard. Police cam captures objects and family sees 8 to 10 foot tall creatures. Now, this family described them as strong, muscular beings, big eyes, big mouths, and a few more little things I'll discuss later. This report was not released to the public or the news until June 7th and 8th. Keep this date in mind, because in between the time that I did the last video and then God sends me two dreams, two visions revealing what was going on and what this event in Las Vegas with this family actually meant. Okay, let's go on down to May 21st, 2023. Okay, Yahweh sends me a dream. First in the dream, I saw the word Jerusalem, big letters. And then I saw this big bird. It was like spread eagle with his wings out, big round body, like, really heavy, weighty, furry, fluffy with feathers. The wings look sort of small, like it shouldn't be able to even hold this bird up. Very full. And it had 2 rows of 3 dots, round circles, black circles, 1, 2, 3 in one row, right beside each other, 1, 2, 3 in the second row. I didn't at first understand what that means, but I'm going to show you what it means after I explain. Okay. Then in this dream, I'm standing and looking up the sky, and I see sparking like fireworks. Someone's standing beside me and they say, I think that's fireworks. And I said, no, that's not fireworks. Those are bombs. So in this dream, I'm seeing. And after I say this, the bombs keep going off. The sky fills with billows of smoke. The bombs continue until it's filling the sky. And then I see this spacecraft. Spacecrafts are large and round. Well, this spacecraft came in slanting like a knife, cutting right through the smoke and the bombs like, hey, we got this. That ain't no problem for us. This spacecraft lands. And this man, who I don't know who he was, he must have been somebody else standing nearby. He comes by me and he gives me something. He gives me a watch. It looks like a watch anyway, but the face of it doesn't look like a regular watch. It had 6 orange circles on it, not as small as, your watch, numbers. And so I'm looking at the watch and he does it really fast. He walks by me. You know how someone's trying to hand you something secretly without anybody knowing it? And he said, take this, hold on to it. Don't show it to anyone. So I take it in my hand. Then this man who I explained to you, this Shlomo that I've seen before in the past, he's the one that came out of the spaceship. He walks by me, but he doesn't see me. It's as if I'm invisible to him. He goes, and I know instinctively he's carrying this man that just gave me this information into a room to interrogate him, to see where he did with this object. And I'm realizing as I'm standing there, oh my God, this is what he's interrogating this man to find out where this watch is. Now watch this. Later on, I realized the watch means something, and I'll tell you that in a second. So after this dream, I asked Yahweh, what did this mean? And he says, war is coming in October. I'm rooting the sinners out of the land, out of his land. Those people who call themselves Jews, who are fake, who are corrupting the land, it's becoming like a Sodom and Gomorrah. God allowed this war to start by Hamas because it was his will, it was his plan. And so I realized this watch meant, because remember I had this dream around May 21st. So this watch was telling me in around 6 months, this war was coming. But he told me not to say anything in the dream. And I realized he didn't want me to say anything. He didn't want me to put out a video about it because I would have showed God's hand what he was about to do, and he didn't want that to happen. Now usually me, as soon as he tells me something, I'm making a video. Well, for some reason, even though I didn't first understand this dream, something in me told me don't say anything. Okay, then the next timeline event was the next event was June 5th, 2023. I have another dream from Yahweh Most High. Remember, the last one was in May. The next one I have is June 5th, 2023. I saw, I was out. It was almost like I was in a warehouse. And in this warehouse, it was lighted. And there was only a few of us. There was myself. I'm standing up on this, like almost like a, a lookout, like a, little tower or a little platform in this warehouse. Other people are right below me, like 4 or 5 other people. We're getting ready to hunt something. I don't know what it is that we're about to hunt. I just know and I have a weapon in my hand. I have this long weapon, a spear, look like a spear gun. You know what they hunt animals in the sea and they spear and they kill things? It looked like a spear gun, long with a point on the end. And I'm holding it and someone from the floor says, "Hey, do you see anything yet?" And I said, "No, I don't see anything." And then they sort of said, "Hey, watch out how you waving that thing around. Don't shoot anybody yet." And I was like, yeah, no, it's almost like, laughable a little bit. Someone else was over in this like little, the little plastic dinghies you can buy where 2 people can, paddle down the river, like one in front of the other. Someone else was putting weapons in this dinghy, this boat. Okay. So the next scene, I'm outside and it looks like it's getting a little dusk of dark. And I know instinctively now we're hunting for whatever it is. I don't know what it is we're hunting for. But then I'm standing beside this wall outside and I see it. It's this big man-looking werewolf. Werewolf. And the word were comes from the German word means man. So werewolf. Another satyr, in other words, a hybrid creature that is not totally human. Right? He's tall, he's big, he's muscular, his waist is tapered. And I see him at the end of this wall, which looks like it's about 20 foot, maybe 30 foot down. But he doesn't see me. And I'm like, oh, and I step back so he doesn't see me. But then I see him go around the side of the wall. And I'm thinking, well, I can just peer back and see. This thing was so fast. It was like a blink of my eye. He was so fast that he was on the other side of the wall, halfway up where I was standing, but he didn't see me. Then the next scene I see is I'm out in the Las Vegas desert. I'm assuming we're already hunting, but I only see myself. In the distance, I know for sure it's Las Vegas because I know the outcrops, the rocks, the big rocks that are different shapes and sizes. And so I see him in the distance and he's on this outcrop of rock that look like it's about 30, 40 foot drop and like a precipice. And he's hurting this white female. She is terrified. He's pressing her with this, some kind of weapon I've never seen before. And she's crying, she's stumbling, she's falling down. I felt sort of bad in that way, but then he keeps pushing her to the very edge. She falls over and I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching it, this sister is dead. I know she's dead, but she gets up. Of course, he's 9 or 10 foot tall, so the jump for him is no problem. So he jumps down. Then the next scene, I see him hurting both white males and females, like 30 or 40 of them. He's like the soldier, super soldier, hurting them out into this place. And so then I see where he's hurting them at. I see that he's hurting them into this, it's almost like a cave, but the cave doesn't have like totally covered the top. So it's almost like this outdoor, like you're sitting outside, but the walls you're inside. And so there are other people, though, white males and females, sitting in the front of this place. He herds these other ones on in as well, makes them sit down. Now, the ones in the front are calm. They seem like they're not afraid. They're just sitting there still, stoic. I don't understand why they're not afraid. But this other new group, they are terrified. They're crying. They've been battered and bruised from the walk in the desert. They're shaking. They don't understand what this thing is they're looking at that's hurting them. And so he sits them down. And I instinctively know for some reason that they're waiting for somebody. They're waiting. He's herded them in there for a reason. and he's waiting for somebody. And I'm standing outside watching all of this go on. And something makes me look up, and I look up and I see this great being with massive wings, white hair, white clothes on. His eyes are, almost iris white with a pinpoint size black, little small pupil. I recognized him right away. He's coming in hot too. But for some reason, when he gets at a certain point, he can't stop the flight. It's almost like, how jets, when you're going on a flight, you hear the engine when it's coming to land, reverse thrust. He can't stop himself. He hits the ground so hard that I thought to myself, whatever this is, he's dead. But he hit it so hard that a plume of dust from the ground rose up into the air. And I thought, literally, to me, from my viewpoint, I thought he went into the ground. But he didn't. And then I go over, and by the time I get over where he's at, he's already flipped over. And he's standing at my feet. He's not standing. I'm standing. He's still laying on his back at my feet. And so immediately he starts putting like this, like the strobe lights have red, green, blue, yellow. He didn't change his color, but he made this light start strobing across his face. Yellow, blue, changing, green. And I told him, I pointed my finger. I said, if you don't stop that, I'm not going to talk to you. And so he stopped it. He turned it off. I can see now he was trying to hypnotize me. Okay, so he couldn't do it. He couldn't pull out. And it's ironic that just as the word said, Satan is under our feet. He's at our feet because when he comes into our atmosphere, he can stand up, but that curse of that gravity being lower than the beast, as the Bible says in Genesis, he cannot stand up and he can stand up, but it's harder for him through the gravity to walk. So he's laying right at my feet, and I'm talking to him. So he says this. He says some other things, but I can't remember. He says, you know why they're in there? He said, like, we're changing them. We're going to change them. And he says, and when they change, there'll be something different. Their poop will be different. In other words, their feces. Whatever he meant by that, I did not understand. For a long time, I did. I'm going to try to explain a little bit more in another video about that. But he said their poop will be different. As if somehow they're changing them physiologically into something else. And the ones that they had just heard it in there didn't have a clue what was getting ready to happen. The other ones had already been compromised, transformed. Okay, so that's the dream. Now, June 7th, we are now, finally, this police video is released. June 7th and 8th. It says it was released to the public. Police finally released report and body cam video to News 8 that shows the blue ball fall from the sky and the Kenmore family, that's the name of the family, testimony of the crash in their yard with a large circle left on the ground. So remember now, all of these things were happening in between the time that this actually happened and my dreams, and then it finally getting released to the public. So as you can see, God, Yahweh, is trying to tell you something. Many of you has asked me over and over again, like, what's going on? What's the Antichrist doing? Who is he? What is he? What's the plan? This is it. I believe Yahweh explained to me that these events are pointing to they're making preparation for the Antichrist to get underway with what Revelations has been speaking to us. And we all know, most of us have awakened, we know and understand these things are now unfolding. But now we're getting details. We're getting details. And if you haven't had a chance, try to go back and watch this video, August 13, 2022. about the killing of the satyrs and Ham Restored. This one you won't find on YouTube because I said YouTube took it down. I did put it up on BitChute. That's BIT and then CHUTE, BitChute. Go look up for YAH'S messenger, or put in the video, "The earth is void and full of monsters," and you should be able to pull it up. And I do also have it on Facebook, so I will try to put some links down if I can when we finish the video. So thank you. So keep this in mind. If you want to, write this down so you will have some of this information. Let's get back to our video. Okay, now that we've went over the timeline, I'm going to explain to you where he lives and where he comes from. Okay. So, where the Antichrist and these hybrid beings live is called Sirius. This is an artificial planet space station. Now, Isaiah 34:5 speaks about that. Like I said in some of my videos, we Christians, we tend to, just cruise right over facts that are right in our face because we've been taught by the traditions of men just to, gloss over those parts, those important parts. But let me explain to you what Yahweh Most High says. Yahweh Most High says this: the Antichrist and many hybrid creatures live in a technologically created hub, an artificial planet cloaked to look like a star. But it is not a star. The name of it is Sirius. Now, people call it Sirius, but I call it Sirius. All right, so that's what I'm going to be saying. So please don't worry about it and say, "Oh, you're saying it wrong," because I know what I'm doing. Okay, the Greeks called it Sirius, which means scorching. Like red, right? The Hebrews called it the red one. Notice how it keeps talking about red. For a good reason. The word Sirius actually refers to Edom or Mount Seir. Notice Sirius, Seir. Okay, this word comes from Assyrians. It's like a deviation, but it's the same word, Assyrians. And Mount Seir is not the only place that the Edomites lived. I'm going to explain that in a second. We're taught in the Word of God, or we just assume, okay, when Esau and Jacob were born, they were twins. One came out red and hairy, one came out, black and dark like his father. Okay, we assume that this was the first beginning of Mount Seir, the Edomites, and you hear a lot of people saying that. That's not true. Actually, there was a Mount Seir up in the area called Babylon, where Assyria, okay? And this was called Mount Seir as well. And it was also called, you see this in the Bible, called the land of Uz. That's talking about the people from Mount Seir in the ancient days. In other words, Esau's ancestors were from another place called Mount Seir, and they call it Edom as well. And you say, well, how do he get connected with Jacob and Isaac? They were black. Yes, they were. But their mother was a light-skinned, fair-skinned black woman. She was a mixture. In other words, she was a mixed person. And I believe her people were mixed in with the Syrians and the Semites, who in those days, some people call Arabs. They were an admixture. So when she had these twins, of course, your DNA can pick up from hundreds of generations before and come sweeping down through. That's why, there's a story about a black African man and woman who had a little white baby. It wasn't an albino, but it was a white baby. Well, albinos are genetically white people, but from generations back. Okay, so this is where this word comes from, and it is the place where the Antichrist and these hybrid beings, chimeras, all kinds of, they knew that if they tried to continue to make their home on earth, they would always be found out. God would always bring them down. So the thinking was, Satan was to build a hub, a home in the stars, as the word says, so that he could run his own little show. And think about his name, what they call him, light bringer, son of the dawn. He thinks that he's supposed to be illuminated. That's where the Illuminati's come from. And focused on, rather than God and his son and their kingdom on earth. Of course, he loves the earth. He wants the earth desperately back as his own. So we're going to get to that too. Okay, so we know about Esau. We know his ancestors used to live in Mount Seir, and that's how it connects with these beings. And that's why they call this so-called star, scientists call Sirius a star. It's not a star. It looks like a star from our vantage point, but actually it is created by Satan, by the hybrids, and built up into basically this world that is not carbon-based. It's a technologically created hub, a space station, but a big one. It's around half the size of the earth, but when you read about Sirius, everybody will be saying, oh, it's 2 times the size of the sun, and it's all this, got this heat. No, that's just an illusion. Satan is very good at illusions. He can even fool his own children, the scientists. Okay, so what does the word Sirius mean when you look it up? And I think I said this on one video before, but I'm going to say it again. I'm going to give you the definition. Seer means hairy, shaggy, satyrs, tempest, red. There's that red again. And we know that the dragon is red. Now, a lot of people say, Satan is red, but here's what it is. Satan, when he's not angry, he's white. His skin is white. His face is white. And I told you in one video how his iris is very light, almost white, and with a pinpoint size pupil. But when he grows angry, he expands into this gigantic dragon, humongous. I mean, something that could, feel a part of the universe. I mean, I don't mean like the whole universe. I mean like a small planet or whatever you have it. So when he grows angry, he turns red. And that is where this word comes from. It is not just about Satan, it's about his descendants too. You know how in the South you say, them rednecks, because their neck would turn red when they get angry and frustrated. That is what that word also means, tempest. When it gave you the definition of seer, it says tempest, satyr. Tempest means somebody who gets upset easily, angered, agitated, wanting to fight, wanting to kill. That is what the Edomites were like. Okay, so that's the point where we need to get some understanding and focus on the truth and no longer be deceived by these made up things that the European pagan and Gentiles make up. Okay, now I want to read from Isaiah 34, chapter 34, verse 5. It says, for my sword drunk deep in the heavens. See now how it slashes through Edom. Through the people I have condemned to punish. Now, some people say, well, he's talking about Edom. He's talking about the Edomites. Jacob said, he's not just talking about Jacob's brother. He's talking about the whole ancestral lot of them who lived in Assyria. You understand? Babylon was the main center, but long before the Arabs and some of Ishmael's descendants took over that area, it was European pagan Gentiles who ruled there. And Assyria was one of their main cities. So we must understand when he's talking about Edom, he's talking about the Edoms going forward and the Edoms going back way before Esau was ever born, who lived in the land of Uz and Mount Seir. So there's an ancient 5,000 plus year goings on of the Edomites trying to rule the world and Satan using them. Let's move on though. God is trying to show you the connection between these two beings and the pagan Gentiles, Edoms on earth. The ones up there, the hybrids, and the one down here are connected genetically. They're family. But I'm going to show you it's not a nice way. Okay. In Obadiah 1 verse 4, it says, though you soared, Yahweh is speaking, though you soared like the eagles, though you set your nest among the stars, I would still fling you down again. It is Yahweh who speaks. Now, see, what they thought is, like I said, they thought they could make a little hub up in the stars, and they got us down here honoring it. Yep. Every time you say, I'm serious, you're honoring that. Every time you say, are you serious? That's glorifying Sirius. Satan loves to weave his name, weave his image, weave his identity throughout mankind's earthly realm. He loves it and defaults and cause the praise and the glory to go to him instead of Yahweh and Yeshua HaMashiach. That's why you have the name, they named Jesus, and they renamed different things in the Bible, and don't even speak about Yahweh when they print it right in the beginning of the Bible that's God's name. Why isn't it put throughout the Bible? It's just like ABC 1, 2, 3. A 3-year-old would say, okay, oh, this is the name of the person the book is about. Well, why come his name is not in the book? Because it's about defaulting the attention and the praise and the glory and the honor from Yahweh back over to Satan. So we do it all the time without knowing it. It's interweaved in the Gentiles' language. There's a lot of examples of that. Okay. Now, what we want to get to next is we explained to you about the dreams. We explained to you about the family in Las Vegas that basically saw these things, and explained to you about my dreams and vision about these werewolves who are really satyrs. Okay. Now, when you look up satyrs, it's going to tell you that satyrs are, some myth about a goat and half man, half goat. But actually, satyr has a broader term, a broader meaning. Satyrs is anything that is a hybrid. Half human, half angel. Half human, half goat. Half bull, half horse. Anything that was mixed or mingled in the DNA is a satyr, because it comes from Satan through Cain, and it comes through the fallen angels through their commingling. And they didn't just commingle with humans, they commingled with animals. And that's one of the things they took out of, talking about Noah, the translators, and took out a lot of books, because they didn't want you knowing who really was behind all of this and who was the willing participant. Japheth's descendants have always been willing participants with this kind of nature, nastiness, and deviant behavior. So let's go on. Now, this planet called Sirius, what I keep calling the planet, but the scientists call a star. It's not a planet or a star. It is a man-made, well, I won't say man-made. It is a technologically made city. It's located in the constellation called Canis Majoris. Now, they usually call Sirius Canis Majoris, and the constellation is located in Canis Majoris. And when you look it up, it'll say Canis Majoris means major dog or big dog, like a big dog. Now, I'm going to explain in a second video where this big dog comes from, where this word Canis Majoris, who is actually originally referring to. You know me, I know all about Cain, but that's going to be in the second half of this video. We're not going to have time to cover that. Okay, but actually what Canis Majoris means, which like I said is the constellation, and people consider the name Sirius, it means dog-like or as a dog. Like we say, oh, he like a dog. He just run after all the women, because dogs are nasty. They don't care who they jump on. They don't care where. Okay. Now, this is because, and I want to explain that to you, because these super soldiers, these werewolves that I saw, and I believe these people who testified that these beings came in their backyard, I think they saw one and the same thing. They saw these big, muscular, 10 feet tall, 10 feet tall beings, big eyes, big mouth. I think he probably couldn't see the fullness of the mouth, but it probably looked like a wolf. And it scared them to death. Even the police was shaking in his boots and nervous because their camera caught 2 or 3 of those balls coming down. So nobody can say, oh, no, those people just made it up. They didn't make it up. Next, I will explain to you how Yahweh says they are genetically connected to the hybrid pagan European Gentiles here on earth. We're talking about these werewolf hybrid, or well, let's just say wolf hybrid beings are connected to the pagan Gentiles on earth. What God explained to me blew me away. It made me have a different view of the people we allow to rule over us. I kid you not. It really did. It made me feel like, dog. You know, it's bad enough just to have mean people ruling over you and dogging you out and your children for generations. But you mean to tell me that they really are part dog, wolf? Okay, watch this. They're genetically connected to hybrid pagan Gentiles, who are the commanders, the wolf hybrids on earth. In other words, the rich, those who we call, the rich running things. These are the wolves, or the kings and queens of the European nation. These are the bloodline of the wolves. That's why you always find them connected genetically or bloodlines. Whether even some of our presidents will be connected to them in Europe, the kings and queens. All right. Okay. King Leopold Wolf. This man went to the Congo, and he sent missionaries there to purposely destroy them black Africans, undermine their natural moral standards. Even said in a letter to one of his missionaries that they already know that the Congo already know about the rules. Don't marry somebody else's wife. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. We're not going there to teach them that. We're going there to teach them to be subjugated to the white man. That's basically what the letter said. And he was talking to priests who's supposed to know and want God. So you can understand, this man was ruthless. He cut off the arms, had their arms cut off and limbs cut off if they couldn't, make work hard enough. Queen Elizabeth was another one. Okay. And while we're on the word of Queen Elizabeth, let me tell you what happened. You know that she passed away several months, ago. Maybe it's been longer than now. And I lived in a condo at that time. I lived on we had 2-3 levels of this condo, but they were separate, units, and I could look up and see the unit on the third floor from my kitchen window. And these people had a big dog. He was like tan colored. He wasn't a German Shepherd, but yeah, he could have been a German Shepherd, but I'm not sure. But he was, one of the bigger ones. And I'd see that dog all the time for months. That dog never barked or did anything weird. He'd get a little fast coming down the stairs when his master got ready to walk him. But before Queen Elizabeth died, only like a day before, I had never heard this dog howl. Never. And I had already lived there probably more than 6 months. Seen him lots of times. But one day, I would find out later it was the day before she died. This dog howled like a wolf howls in the mountains at the full moon. He howled. Oh my gosh. And I thought to myself, like old people say, they say, when you hear a dog howling, somebody gonna die. Oh Lord. I thought to myself, oh boy, somebody gonna die? Like, really? Maybe, could be. That was just like saying to myself, how you halfway thinking, halfway believe. Okay, watch this. This dog howled that day. She died the next day. He howled till the next day. After that, he never howled again. I thought to myself, oh my God, I had heard on the news that Queen Elizabeth died. I was like, oh shoot, that's weird. Never heard the dog howl again. But that last day, when they walked him, they were coming down the stairs, and I was down on the, outside, and I could see him coming down the stairs with the dog. And the dog was on the second level, and I'm standing, but I can look up about 2 or 3 feet and see him. That dog was barking, growling out of his mind. They had a muzzle on him that day. I had never seen a muzzle on that dog. it was as if he lost, for a little while, he lost his mind. I truly believe there's a connection there. Don't know, tell you all the details, but now the next part I want to get to is Romulus and Remus. This is what the Yahweh revealed to me. I love Yahweh. He knows I love some good revelations. And here's what he told me. He said, Delina, you know the story about Romulus and Remus, the progenitors and creators of Rome, and how there's a great story about they were twin boys who got thrown away by somebody, and a she-wolf suckled them, gave them milk. And in those days, wolves were big. They weren't just like, the size we see today, probably twice the size. A female she-wolf, they found the baby suckling. God, Yahweh said that wasn't just a wolf that suckled lost babies. He said that was their mother. They were hybrids. They were hybrids. And the people that found them thought because they looked human, you see, that they should take them and care for them. So it's, as the story goes, a family started taking care of them and raised them up. Eventually, Romulus killed Remus because they got in an argument over, the city they wanted to build, and there you go. But God, Yahweh, revealed to me these were hybrid beings. These were hybrid wolves, and that she-wolf was their mother. So they basically, the strangers, the people basically took this wolf's babies away from her. They did not know that. Okay. All right. So now, what's interesting to note is this Sirius that's called, dog star or major dog, big dog. This is what the Sirius is called. Is universally known by tribes around the world, and interestingly called the same thing. Tribes that ain't never met other people from another place all around the world call it the same thing. Watch this. The Egyptians called it the dog star. Now we're talking about Sirius. China people called it heavenly wolf. Chaldeans called it the dog that leads. Cherokee called it a dog star. Indian tribes of Southwest said it called it the dog that follows the mountain sheep. Alaskan Inuit of Bering Strait called it the moon dog. The Dogon of West Africa said that they actually met the people from Canis Majoris, Sirius, that area called Canis Majoris. And they gave them information. And this was 100 or so years ago when they got this information. And they knew that there was another planet near Sirius that was so tiny and small that nobody could even see it with the naked eye until the 1970s. But these people called the Dogon knew about it 100 years before. And said that actually these people came and visited them. Said they looked like, half bodies looked like humans. The bottom part looked more like serpent's body. That's what the Dogon people said. Now, the Hopi has a prophecy about it, and we're going to get into that on the next version of, half of this video, because it's a pretty little lengthy. But the Hopi called it Sakwasahu, which means origin. So we're going to wait and get into that, on the second half. Now, the Cherokee, interestingly enough, the Cherokee word for white is la kohotu yapi or Dakoti yapi. Now, yap, you said, stop that dog from yapping. Yappy means to bark in quick, sharp bursts of a dog, high pitch, repeatedly yapping. The Arabic says bark, yelp, howl, cry. That's what it means, yapping. Okay, so this word also means gibberish or to babble. Babble. Remember Babylon, to babble? Job spoke when he was talking about his situations. He started explaining how some of these low-class beings that wasn't even considered humans, who live up in the rocks, who be barking and yapping like dogs, was actually laughing at him when he was down there, sick and sitting on the ground and going through his trials and testings. That's Job chapter 30, verse 1 through 8. So we see a pattern here We got all of these different people knowing about this star. How do they know about this star, and why did they all call it the same thing in different variations? That's a good takeaway to think on. Okay, modern day European whites are hybrids. Here's the takeaway. This is a reality. Modern day European whites are hybrid beings. Their DNA is mixed with white non-human origins. This is what is meant by the beast that emerges out of the sea that you see, in talking about in Daniel and other places. When you see those, when you read over it, go back and read over it again. Watch what you get. When you read it, you see a mixture of several unclean animals, but a dragon's head means the dragon's at the head of them. They're hybrid chimeras, hybrid beings, but he's at the head. This is not a metaphor. It's revealing their biological makeup, or corrupted flesh, as the Bible calls it, used to prepare the earth for the Antichrist's arrival and Satan's arrival. This is also why the Hebrews and Yahweh referred to the European pagans as dogs. In ancient times, it was a well-known fact and rule that the Hebrews called the European pagans dogs. And you know that even in the Bible, Yeshua HaMashiach called the Phoenician woman, Canaanite, she was a Canaanite woman, a dog when she asked him to heal her daughter. I'm going to have that in the second video, a little bit more about that. Their origins are through Satan and the fallen angels, commingling with all types of animals, creating satyrs. And the specific one at the height, it's like a top tier thing. At the height of the top tier are the wolves. These are the ones on earth are the wolves, the rich, the ones that can have billions and ride down the road in their car and see the poor and the homeless and the hungry and little children hungry. And it doesn't even click in their mind. Let me stop and see, can I help them? Right? Have you ever seen a dog or a wolf? A wolf can have a bone in his mouth and he will growl and try to take his paw and clasp it down on the other dog's meat or bone. That's how a wolf is. A wolf has no empathy. A wolf is not even like a lion. He won't go kill just to eat. He'll go into the sheepfold and kill several sheep, leaving them bleeding out. And then he might drag one back off and eat it. A wolf has no love or empathy. These descendants who have been given power to rule. So the wolves are at the top here. We're talking about the hybrid humans who no longer look like a wolf, a werewolf, but the ones in this star system still retain their body and wolf because they're agile, they're powerful, they're like super soldiers. Here on earth, their biological, relatives look like humans, but their character is like a wolf. So these are the top of wolves. The next ones are the goats, what we call satyrs. But like I said, all of them are satyrs. Anything that is a hybrid is a satyr because it came through Satan's breaking down of the earth through robbing it from Eve and Adam, and the hybrid and the angels producing these hybrids. So they're all satyrs because their mind is geared towards evil and darkness. They don't care about life. They don't care about the earth. They're destroying the earth and life right along with it. It doesn't even matter in their minds as long as they do whatever they feel like doing. Okay, so, and it's sad because these wolves, we're talking about these human wolves on the earth. These human wolves on the earth tore down God's kingdom while building their own kingdom on earth and amongst the stars. That's where we get the Edom thing. So Zephaniah 3 says, her judges, wolves at evening, that have had nothing to gnaw that morning, meaning they are ravenous. They're always on the prowl, on the hunt, killing. You wonder why some white policemen just seem like want to kill. They can't help themselves because they're descendants of hybrid wolves. Some are satyrs, some are like the he-goats, just nasty, filthy. Well, all of them nasty and filthy. But these wolves are cold-blooded killers. All right. Okay, so now about America. How does America tie in with Sirius? This Sirius and the hybrid beings that dwell there were instrumental in the creation of America. According to one source I read. According to one writer, Sirius, the star of freedom, that's where we get that star of freedom from in America. It's from Sirius, that ideology about Sirius. Behind the founding of the U.S. Sirius, the star of freedom, was behind the founding of the U.S. That's where you get the red, white, and blue. Red, Edom, white and blue. The star, Sirius, is white and blue. Okay. Sirius thus oversees the evolution of the U.S. and its people. This is where we get that idea of the Eastern Star, because this so-called star, Sirius, can only be seen around the 4th of July through the 23rd of August. So, actually, when we think, oh, they just picked out a date to celebrate 1776, the 4th of July. No. That was a purposefully chosen date because Sirius rises in the east right above the sun early in the morning around the 4th of July and stays around until August 23rd, and then you can't see it anymore. It's behind the sun. All right. This is also where we get the idea of the Eastern Stars and the Illuminati. Like George Washington and all the presidents who Illuminati. All of this stuff came from this in-depth connection with Sirius and these beings that come to the earth and the 4th, and they call it also dog days. You hear people say, oh, dog days of summer. Summer. Did you just say another word you're giving glory to? Summer, the Sumerians. That's what it was called. Sumeria is the same word for what we call summer. So the dog days of summer, which means it's like the hottest time in the summer, from July to August, is actually when Sirius rises over the horizon. Okay, before dawn. Now, let me tell you something. Yahweh told me this. Information you really need too about this Sirius. It sounds like, oh, she's just talking about some planet way out there, trillions of miles away. No. This planet comes, and it takes about a month to get here. And even science is saying it's going about 17,000 miles an hour, coming towards Earth. What star is flinging off into a direction out of its orbit? No star does that. See how they tell you things right in front of your face, but you're not paying attention? This, Yahweh said this star docks outside of our solar system around this time. That's why you get so much heat at this time. It docks outside of our solar system, Yahweh Most High said, allowing ships to access Earth. In other words, allowing its ships to come out of Sirius and come to the Earth. It docks outside of our solar system. This brings extra heat, solar winds due to the exhaust and engines' greater heat. And it has even a greater heat when it's leaving because it needs that thrust, just like a rocket, needs that thrust to get back out. So that's why it's hotter in August than it is in July. Okay. Now, and science might say, oh, no, you can't, because we see it in the same place all the time. Let me explain what God Yahweh explained to me. This light that you see in Sirius, and you can go look it up, and you'll see a big light blue ball, and sometimes with white center and then blue outside or haze outside. Okay. This hub can change the brightness of the light. Now, they claim it's 24 times brighter than the sun. And of course, that's because they can see it so far away and it's so bright. They just, think that. But what it does is, as it approaches Earth, they reduce the light so that these little people who are looking through their telescopes can't even realize that it's outside of our solar system. It's no longer trillions of miles away. It's outside of the solar system. You one day you're gonna find this out. You're gonna say, "Oh, sister was right. God doesn't speak anything that's not true." But prophecy is not always going to fit into your timeline in the present. It's for up ahead. Okay, so it can change its brightness in order to appear far away when it comes here. But in reality is very close. Man has no way of a true gauge of time and space, no true measurement. They're going by an optical, or either they send a hub up to try to figure it out. You know, some kind of electric gauge to send up. Unless it's like a probe. Science cannot tell the link between our world and the celestial world of the stars, the constellation. Much is guessing and much is fabrication to fill in the blanks, spaces of knowledge. And you know, that was the Amorites, which they are the satyrs. They were the satyrs. I did a video on that. They said they love to hear their name called. See, you got us hollering Sirius. You got us hollering America, Amur. And then you got people filling in the blanks, claiming they know how far this thing is. But one thing they do say is true, that it's traveling, you know, thousands of miles per hour in our direction. Now, planets don't go outside their orbit. They might wiggle a little bit. But we're going to talk about that in the other video. Sirius is nowhere near. Now, this is another thing Yahweh said. Now, Yahweh ought to know. I don't know, but Yahweh knows. Sirius is nowhere near the size of the sun. It is closer to the size of Earth, or less. That is why Satan wanted. He wanted to produce something that looked like it was way bigger than the Earth, way outshine the sun. You know, the sun actually, you know, is God's witness in the sky. So he wanted to outrival God and try to promote this Sirius as the brightest thing in our sky. No, it's just an illusion. It has a light, but he makes it bigger and grander so that people will think and look up and say, oh, do you see Sirius? It's so bright. It's 2.5 times brighter than the sun. And yes, wow. So he gets the what? The glory. And all of it is a lie. Okay. That's why he thinks he is the light bringer and the son of the dawn. Notice, light bringer, Sirius, the light, son of the dawn. Sirius rises above, just a little bit above the sun before sunrise on July 4th. You see how his hand is in all of this, and how we have got to start learning to look a little deeper, pray a little harder, seek the truth a little more. And I tell you, I give God all the praise and the glory to you, because you, his chosen people, are seeking the truth with your hearts wide open, 10 times harder. And God loves that. He's so happy that you're seeking him. Now you got to put that information and that knowledge to use. Growing in knowledge is not going to help you if you don't use it to take action. And that's what you've got to do in this hour. You've got to protect yourself, because I'm going to tell you something, as I told you in other videos. Ground zero for all of these things happening, the worst of it is going to be in America. What's taught to you in Revelations, the worst is going to be in America. Now, I'm going to bring you the second half of this. This is going to finish it up. And I thank you for joining me. All praises to the Most High God, YAH'S. Hallelujah.